Hello, join us this week on Loose Links as we hit the hot topics of Lincolnshire, where we discuss, chat, and even maybe debate. All that on tonight's show. To this week's Loose Links, keeping it loose with me, Nicholas James, is Sandra Overton.
Hello.
Sanjay Hitwell.
Hi.
And Claire Brown and May.
Hello.
As we share this week's hot topics, we start with the sad story as Lincoln hits back. As the bauble, the great big light-up bauble in the centre of town, has been vandalised, so we talk about vandalism. Is it really good enough this year? Do you think that we should name and shame people before they are guilty? And do you think some behaviours come from childhood? We also discuss a £1 million house somewhere in Lincolnshire, but are we still in the wealth category in the year of 2021? Do we fit into a category of poor and rich? And we finish on the subject of the festive gardens at Dottington Hall, where you feel like a child all over again with tinsel and everything. Well, I'm not sure I completely agree with it, but tinsel and everything makes you feel like a kid again. But do we have an inner child, and should we embrace them? All that on tonight's show. Good evening, panel.
Good evening.
Hi, how are we all doing? Are we all right? Claire Brown and May, let's come to you first. You look very different.
Why?
Have you had your hair done?
Well, last week, yes.
Oh, very nice.
Thank you.
Very nice. Do you know what you remind me of? You know,
What?
in the beginning of films, there are those films with the big lion. Right at the beginning.
Yeah, MGM film.
with your big hair.
This is straight, so you can imagine what it's like normally.
Yeah, that's it. Sandra, do you look like you've had your hair done? Have you had your roots done? You look a bit dark.
No, they're not. They always look dark on here. I'm grey. I don't have a colour. Mine's my natural.
We were discussing this in the beginning of the show. That's so weird.
And I'm just lucky I've got natural highlights going on here, look.
Oh, natural.
It's all natural.
Does it take you long to do your roots, Claire? Because it takes me hours. Absolutely hours to get mine done.
Well, that's when I treat myself and I go to the hairdressers.
Oh, do you? Well, you look stunning. You blew me away this evening.
Oh.
Blew me away.
Thank you.
Join us as I'm word muddling now. Sorry, we ought to apologise. There was no polls that went up last week. Loose Links had a big meeting about Series 4. We lost a bit of control. Not control, but we lost it a little bit. We forgot about the polls and stuff like that. So polls will be back up this week after tonight's show. There's a lot coming for Series 4. It's a brand new, fresh look, fresh-faced of Loose Links. So please come and join us. Our final episode of Series 3, believe it or not, ladies, our final episode of Series 3 is in 2 weeks' time. Monday the 15th, we say goodbye to 2021, but with a special episode on Christmas Eve. Please join us 9 o'clock Christmas Eve, as we will be sharing our Christmas Eve highlights with you, and then we return Tuesday the 11th of January next year for Series 4. How exciting is that? So please stay with us and keep with us until the end of this season, and then have a lovely Christmas and come back to us. That's the plan. But let's get started on what we do best, ladies. Let's get a little bit loose. As we talk about this week, the giant illuminated bauble in the Lincoln High Street has been removed from the year's Christmas light trail after constant, so not just once, constant damage by vandals. Organisational Lincoln Business Improvement Group said it's been a difficult decision to take the structure, leaving the group saddened. So it did get me thinking about vandalism and vandalism in the year of 2021 and how we take things for granted. So Sandra, let's go to you first. Do you think that vandalism is getting worse? And are you shocked that it's as bad as it is now, that it's still hitting headline news now?
It is getting worse, and it is really bad. I mean, we're back to no bobbies on the beat. I know the next thing is going to be, well, there aren't the police to put on the beat, but we've no policemen, there's no deterrent, the punishment doesn't fit the crime, and it's lack of respect, because nobody can do anything to them. They know that they're not going to get any deterrent because they know they can't be touched. Oh, well, you can't touch me. And it's very, very sad. We had a case in the marketplace last year where they took the baubles off the tree and they were kicking them around the marketplace. It's sad. We're in a very sad society, and young people just think they can do as they like. Well, I think a lot of people think they can just do as they like. Look at the little lass that was murdered in was it Liverpool? Not Liverpool this last week. I mean, isn't it sad that you can't go? She'd gone with her friends to enjoy herself, and it just ends up heartbreaking. Very, very sad. Yeah, I think the vandalism, to answer your question, yes, I think the vandalism is getting worse. Yes.
Do you agree, Claire?
Yeah, totally. And again, like, you know, it's all right having the bobby on the beat. It's not like it used to be, though, where...
Can I ask what that is? I'm in an age where I've never heard that saying before, bobby on the beat.
Policeman, bobby on the beat.
So the policeman doing what? Bobby on what beat?
It's called.
Basically, it's I think it comes from like the Victorian times, where they used to have when the Met Police first got together, and they kind of like they'd walk around just kind of like just, you know, checking things going on, and, you know, if kids saw them coming, they'd be like, oh, the bobby's on the beat, and they'd run in and they'd just act like they're not doing anything. And
I can just see a Michael Jackson bloody policeman. All I can see, Bobby on the beat. I just think,
just beat
is he dancing down the street or something?
Also, Bobby,
I mean,
also the word bobbies, it's also a slang word for a copper. It's a Victorian slang word for copper, a bobby.
Yeah. I mean, policemen used to check shop doorways and make sure they were locked, because I remember when I worked at the hairdressers, whoever was last had forgotten to lock the door, and they just walked in and they thought there was probably somebody in there, and they rang my boss up and said, do you know that your salon is open? They went round. You could, if you were in the marketplace, you could see them just walking and checking everything.
It would be like your local bobby, so therefore that policeman would know your name and know your parents, so you wouldn't do anything, because they would say, right, I'm going, you know, you do that, and I'm going to tell your mum or your dad, you know. And
where do you think the fault of that lies then, Claire? Where do you think, why don't you think we have, I hate the name, I'm sorry, but why don't we have a bobby on the beat on the street anymore? Why?
There's no respect, and also they can't, they're not allowed to do anything, you know, like in school. I mean, okay, I'm not saying it was right or wrong, but they used to have the slipper or the cane, you know, or a slap around the head, which the policeman used to do. You know, and you wouldn't backtrack them.
They have no powers over, especially over the younger kids now. They have no powers over the children anymore. So if a child does something wrong, the child doesn't get punished, it's the parents. But the child doesn't care that their parent has got into trouble. They haven't got into trouble, so therefore they're going to do it again and again and again. And because they're not getting into trouble, it's not going to affect them. They're not getting, at home, their parents not telling them what to do and what not to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, just holding the children accountable for their actions. I think that's that's partially why they just.
One of my daughters got the cane. They went to a Catholic school run by nuns, and one of my daughters did get the cane. She never came home and told me. She was 40 before she told me. We were around the Christmas table one Christmas, and that's when she told me. She said, I daren't come home and tell you, because she said I knew I'd get another smack.
Sandra, do you know what? My brain isn't working this evening. I thought you were saying my daughter came home at 40 from school and told me.
Yeah,
I had the cane. I was like, she's been in school a very long time.
No. She was deferred a lot.
Yeah, she never came and she never told me. She said, I daren't tell you, because she said I knew. She said I would have got it again. Yeah.
My mum used to get the cane. She was always like, she said, well, she told us when we were kids she never got into trouble directly, but she just never accepted trouble. So if somebody tried making trouble with her, she'd give it back, and she'd always get into trouble for it. And she'd always tell us, make sure you behave at school. And we were all just like, yeah, but they don't do the cane anymore.
Yeah, but I think to be honest, I'm always the one on the fence, aren't I? I'm always the grumpy one. But I think what we've got to think about really is that, again, I feel like we're naming and shaming young people, and we're saying that young people are doing it now. Stats are telling us that it's mainly the younger generation, but when we look at generations and getting things right and getting things wrong, the older generation got a lot wrong as well before the younger generation came in. So the older generation, mental health, you were taught not to say a word, children should be seen and not heard. And all of that, and children not really being able to be children. It felt like when I was a child, even when I was a child, you wasn't really accounted for or noticed until you were 18. Because you're a child, know your respect, know your place. Actually, I'm quite pleased that we've come forward that children now have got a voice. Children are now heard. Children are now listened to. But I think we've got to find that balance, because I do think we've gone too far the other way. So I'm not completely disagreeing with you all, but there's got to be blame from both ends of generation here.
I think it's just hard to get that balance right. Just trying to get that balance right, it's always difficult. And it's just a shame that it's taken so many generations just to try and figure out that. I mean, obviously, we've still not got the balance right. I've been quite lucky, bringing my daughter up on my own. I've always been quite lucky with her, because she's always listened to me, and she's always, she's always taken on board what I've told her. If she's been naughty, I tell her why she's been naughty, and I tell her why she shouldn't be doing that. And and I'm lucky that she listened to me, and also that she had the fear of God put into her by my granddad once. So he'd be like, well, you can always call Granddad Hipwell up if you don't want to behave yourself. She's like, no. So I think it's just getting that balance right as you grow, as they're growing up. Going through each generation.
It sounds though that you're very interested in your daughter. You're interested in what she's doing and what she's up to. And I do think there is the generation at the moment where parents are at work because they've got to have everything these days, and parents are working. Lots of children come home from school, let themselves in, very much on their own. And not all parents, I won't generalise, but there are some parents that probably aren't interested in what their children are up to.
Can I just say something on that? Because sometimes, I know this is going off a bit, but sometimes the parents have to work because I mean, when Alicia was growing up, I would have loved to be a stay-at-home mum to make sure that I was there for her when,
Yes.
you know, when I took her to
Yes.
school, and I was there for her when she came home from school.
Yeah.
But that wasn't always possible because I had to go onto job seekers, and I had to find a job, and I had to find a job that was minimum of 16 hours to get off of job seekers and all of this. So, you know, the government told me that I couldn't stay at home for my daughter.
No.
I had to go out, and I had to find babysitters. I had to put her into after school clubs and things like this. So a lot of the time, you know, it's not always the parents' fault.
No, but you were there for her at
as
times.
much as I could, I could. I mean, when she was in
Yes.
her last year of junior school, she was one of those kids that had her own key to the house, and she had to let herself in because I couldn't get home in time for her because
No.
I had to work. There was no, and being a single parent, it's harder.
Claire, do you feel, Claire, let's go over to you a minute, because you're a single parent too. Do you think as a nation at the moment that we are doing enough for single parents?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the reason I didn't go, because I had my son who is disabled, and then I had my daughter, and, you know, I wanted to stay at home with them, which, you know, I was allowed because I did get some benefits, do you know what I mean? But I just think, like you say, it is really difficult nowadays, like what Sam was saying, because, you know, you have to, you know, get job seekers allowance, you have to work, you have to do a minimum amount of hours and everything. And I don't think there is enough out there for the working people, personally, and especially for the single parents.
Could we put like if we think about it in that direction, then single parents are struggling to see their children, precious time, stuff like that, work, money, all of that. Do you think sometimes that it's not always bad behaviour, that it's a cry out for attention? Because if children aren't getting that attention from home, because home life is so busy, mum or dad's flying in and out, dinner time, all of that, they don't feel like they're being heard.
I think a lot of it, some kids they want any kind of, whether it's good or bad attention, it's attention to them. So they want to, you know, they want that attention from their parents, from their grandparents, from their teachers, from whoever they can get the attention from. So I mean, when I was growing up, my mum was a stay-at-home parent. She was a single parent of me and my two brothers. She was stayed at home, and then once me and my oldest brother had left school, had left home, and my youngest brother was just at home at high school, she started going out and getting a job, and she worked. Now, I would have loved to have been able to do it like that, but because of government stipulations, because of her age, when my daughter turned 5, I had to go and find a job. I was taken off income support, put onto job seekers, and I had to find a job minimum 16 hours a week. It's like, well, you know, give me that. I have to do this 16 hours a week. How am I supposed to bring my daughter up and be there for her so she doesn't turn into one of these that needs any kind of attention? It's hard, but again, it's going back to the balance of, you know, trying to balance things out. And not everybody has support from family and friends to help with the children. I mean, I'm lucky. I've always had a good support network, but there are some people out there who don't have that support network, and it's harder for them to be able to give their child the attention that they need. It's not a case of, like you said earlier, Nick, it's not a case of out of sight, out of mind. Not anymore, because kids still, they need that attention, that nourishment from their parents to be able to grow up to be decent, well, you know, decent human beings.
I think a lot of it as well with children is peer pressure.
Yes.
You know, I'm not saying, you know, parents who have got the money, the children, you know, want the best things. You know, they want the new iPhones, Androids, they want the best trainers. And, you know, some of them go down a slippery slope to get that. I'm not saying it's the parents, it could be the parents doing that so that their children get the best. or it could be the child just getting into a wrong crowd just so that they can make some money, so that they can feel that they're in with the in crowd, you know. So but again, it is like you said, Nick, it goes from one thing to another, you know. We can't quite get that balance, but then society's changing, so it's really difficult, you know, because there is a lot of single parents out there. The technology is mind-blowing, with the computers and online stuff and everything, and it's really difficult for the young people of today to you know, to probably feel inclusive, and to feel that, you know, that they are worthy, because, you know, life's so busy and their parents either don't care or they're trying their best to care and working all the time and don't give them that attention that they crave.
Do you think then, Claire, when it comes to any kind of vandalism, crime, anything like that, that we think about, or doing something wrong in life where you are confronted by a punishment in any sort of way, do you think it's right to name and shame people before the conclusion has already happened?
Well, if the conclusion is, if you've not got the conclusion, then I don't think so. But if you've got the conclusion, then yes, you know, if you know it's those people, then you should name and shame them.
I think it's down to the evidence that they have as well. Maybe, you know, got CCTV or witnesses and things like that. I think it depends on the evidence as well. If it's overwhelmingly like, yes, it is them, I think that's what Nick's getting at. Is if it overwhelmingly is them, then yes, should they be named and shamed? Being a child,
yes.
But I think that's a very difficult one to talk about, really, because there are people. I'll be very careful how I say this. I think there are people that deliberately go out to do crime or to do vandalism or to do anything like that. But we've also briefly talked about this evening peer pressure. Now, peer pressure is massive in any child's life. Peer pressure is huge, and all it takes is for you to feel like you belong or you fit in somewhere with a group of people that make you do something completely out of whatever you would think you would ever do before. So I think for people that have been, I think we need to look case by case by this about publicising and talking, and because people fall into the wrong crowd, and they just, if they don't, let's talk about a bit about bad parenting. Now, I'm not saying everybody's a bad parent at home, but say like you do have a bad childhood and you do struggle and you look and you long for love and acceptance and all of that, all of your life you're looking for it, and you find these group of people that give you what you want, that give you the latest trainers, that give you the latest gadgets, that give you unconditional attention every time you want them on the phone, and that you fall into that crowd, but then they make you do something out of the ordinary to something that you would never, and they're punished for doing that. I don't think that should be publicised. And I think you've got to really look into the story.
I just think that's with any crime, if it's a child or an adult. Do you know what I mean? As in, you know, why is an adult going into crime? Are they after drugs, money, you know, alcohol? It's a vicious.
I also think a lot of it is, you know, people that do it just because they can. I think a lot of people do it because the adrenaline rush as well. So, you know, nowadays people are trying to do stupid things to get noticed online now, just for the adrenaline, just to try and, you know, be an influencer and all of this. And it's just like, well, you know, there are different ways of doing it, but them showing people that saying, oh, I'm going to do this to get these views. But then doing that is setting a bad example for people that are watching these influencers. They're not called influencers for no reason. You know, they influence people, and it's not just adults influence, it's children as well. So obviously, since I was a kid, times have changed. We didn't have all these influencers and all of this when I was a kid. My influence was my family, you know.
I was just about to say you did, Sam, but in a very different way.
We were always scared about Grandad. You see, if we got into trouble, we went to our Grandad, and that was one thing I never did. I never got into trouble with my Grandad because I'd seen my brother get in trouble with my Grandad, and I was just like, no, I don't want that. I'm not getting into trouble with my Grandad ever. So I tried to be the best. I tried to do as best as I could to keep out of my Grandad's way. But other people will see that, like my brother. It's like they see it as a badge of honor, or it's an adrenaline rush, or they just can't help themselves. They're impulsive. So I think it's down to the character of the person as well. Me and my brother.
Sandra, what was you going to say?
I think social media's got a lot to answer for. They
Definitely.
see people and they see things on social media and they think, they don't want to feel that they're out of it. They want to be part of it, and they don't want people to think that they're goodies because they're not, mixing in. I think there's, the internet's been a wonderful invention, but I think it's
I agree to disagree there, Sandra, because what about people that can't get out the house, that really physically?
No, I don't mean social media is a bad thing. But it has got a lot to answer for. There's a lot on social media. I'm not generalizing that social media is a bad thing overall, Nicholas. What I mean is there are things on social media that attract people and young people, and it's easy to get involved.
Do you know, Sandra, you still send me a shiver down my spine. It's like talking to my nana sometimes. You still give me a shiver down my spine when you say Nicholas. I feel like I'm in trouble.
I don't shorten names. I think you're given a name and it shouldn't be shortened.
Yeah, I always feel like I'm just in front of my nana.
That's why my father called me Sandra, because he didn't like names to be shortened. And Sandra can't be shortened, Carol can't be shortened, and Anne can't be shortened. And I've got all three names.
Oh, have you? Get you. Yes.
I do actually have a friend called Carol, and her friends call her Kaz.
Oh.
Nobody has ever shortened my name. I've never been called Sandy or Sand. Never ever. No. I've got a Samantha. I've got a Sarah, and people call Jessica Jess. I think because names.
We need to remember this next time, Nick.
Are you Samantha?
I am, yeah.
Yes. It's like Sue. It's Susan. I like Susan. Oh, sorry, that's my phone.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry.
It's like my first two names. I'll
put it outside because the answering machine will come on.
And so I've shortened it to Sam J because I like the way it sounds. I shortened it to Sam J. So it's just my preference.
Claire, do you think bad behaviour though comes from home? Do you think that's where it starts?
Not necessarily. No, not all. You might have some parents, like I've said before, just trying to do the best they can for the children, and it's the child, I don't know, in with the wrong crowd, or it's just the child itself. It's really a difficult one because you can't blame the parents all the time. And nowadays, I'm lucky that I know where my children are. And going to names, Millie with a Y, I call her M, Moo.
Yeah.
Minx. Minx monster. Going back to the question, Nick, Alice, I think that you can't always blame the parents.
No.
Again, I mean, when I was growing up, there was one particular teacher at school. She was a bit, up herself and that. She was one of these and the way she spoke, she was just, you could tell she was from an upper class family and all that, the way she spoke and that. And she really did not like me. And it wasn't until after I left school that I found out why. is because I was from a single parent family on a council estate, and she hated me and my brother because we were from a single parent family on a council estate. And I didn't think at the time, I didn't think about it because that was my norm. You know, that was my norm. I didn't really think about it. But she really did not like me and my brother because we were from a single parent family on a council estate. So there's obviously a reputation there. Well, back then at least. Not sure that it's like that nowadays. But and I was just kind of shocked, like, why is she, you know, being like that through circumstances that I cannot control? So, you know, there is a, you know, the reputation, you know, it's like tarring everybody with the same brush. You just can't do that. And I felt really put out when I found that out. I really did. It's just like, well, why?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, tell us what you guys think. Do you agree that vandalism? Do you know, sometimes I feel like just throwing the papers, because I just think we write down 3 questions and we go on to conversations that we haven't even said. Like single parent hadn't even come up. I can't keep up with it. Honestly, it just blows my mind. But so, just tell us what you think about vandalism, and if you think about it, if it starts from home, do you think bad behaviour comes from home? Do you think it comes from being a distant parent that leads into crime and damage? Have your say. Make sure you have your say. You are the 5th panel member, maybe the most sensible one out of all of us. So make sure that you have your say on our platforms. Loose Links is on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we have our website. Please go and have a look at our website. It is being set up as we speak, www.looselinks.co.uk. We also have an email address of looselinks@gmail.com. Please get in touch or comment on our polls. Your opinion is just as valid as ours. Moving forward, we're going to talk about a historic Lincolnshire county house boasting an incredible 16-bedroom has been listed on the market after the year, and it was vamped as a party mansion. Wraithby Hall in Spilsby is a Grade 2 listed red brick building built in the 1760s. It was set of the Blackberry and Warnes family and was extended in 1848 to 1873 by George Scott. Sandra, it sounds like for the millionaire, you might need to get yourself down to Spilsby. Get yourself there, Sandra. Get yourself to Spilsby.
No, I wouldn't want the work. As long as I could have a cleaner, I wouldn't want to clean.
What was the work?
But then if I was married to a millionaire, I wouldn't need to clean, would I? I'd have a cleaner.
Definitely.
You
I'd be out on the yacht. In Monaco.
It's all down. Oh no, I can't do Loose Links today. I'm meeting the Queen. I'll see you tomorrow. But this did get me thinking about wealth and today's wealth. So Claire, do you think there is still a status of wealth in today's society?
I think so, because I'm not wealthy at all. But yeah, of course there is. There's got to be. You know, there is self-made millionaires. There's people who have inherited things. You know, born into family. There's lots of big buildings. You know, big country manors and things out there. So people have got to have the wealth to be able to keep them running, I think. Yeah.
Although a lot of big manors and mansions and that, a lot of them are falling under the under like the National Trust and and organizations like that, because people just don't have the don't have the heart to look after them anymore. So I mean, it could be down to money and how, but I have found, because I did a bachelor's degree in heritage studies, and this is something we discussed on the courses. You know, got all these beautiful houses and everything, but a lot of them fall under the ownership of like trusts, and that will do them up, open them up to the public.
to get the money to do
so
them all.
Yeah. And
One of
then,
the
you know, these people go into like little apartments, stylish apartments, you know, that cost like £1 million a month to live in. You know, it's like,
one of the big problems, of course, with old buildings and stuff is the maintenance.
yes.
Because they've all had old systems, i.e. heating, hot water, the plumbing, the electricals. They're all archaic, and to bring them up to date, that's what costs the money.
And also because when there's listed buildings, depending on what grade listed there is, you have to get certain permission from to get to have things done to them, and you also have to have certain permission to, you know, just like change a window. If you want to change a window, you have to get permission to do that, and you have to do it. And sometimes, depending on the building, like with the cathedral, they have to have it done in a certain way. There's certain people, you know, like stonemasons and things like that. It has to be done in a certain way for it to keep within
it's
the theme of it all.
It's the frontage, isn't it?
It's all about appearances.
Yeah, because I had a friend who lived in a listed building on Spilsby Road, and she couldn't have she wanted double glazing, and what you and I know as double glazing, she couldn't have it. You had to have what they call secondary, and it had to be, the double glazing had to be inside the room, and the window to the outside had to remain. It is, and it costs money.
If you buy a listed building, you have to be prepared to spend a bit of money on upkeep, and you know, if you have to do repairs, you can't just go to, you know, some guy down the road. You have to go to someone who specializes in listed buildings. So with that kind of thing in mind, I'm not surprised that these kind of buildings are going to trust in that, because a lot of millionaires and that, they can't, it's not the fact that, you know, they might not be able to afford it, but also the fact that it's just too much hassle. It's just too much hassle to keep them now.
Why would you want 16 bedrooms? This is what I come to understand. When you see, like, you know, Hollywood stars and things like that, they've got, like, they say double the amount of bathrooms, and they've got 2 bedrooms. Why? You know, why would you want 16 bedrooms?
Why not?
Unless you're a really big family. But nah.
But that takes us to the royal family almost, doesn't it? If we think about it in that way, the royal family, Buckingham Palace, why does the Queen need a house like that? Why does she need? Yes, I think it should be royal. Yes, I think it should be big. But actually, we could be doing a lot more with that building than what we are doing.
I think nowadays it's more used for tourism. It's not so much. I mean, because obviously she doesn't live there anymore. She lives at Windsor now, doesn't she, the Queen?
Yes, she's not. I don't think she's going back, is she?
No.
They said they didn't think she'd go back.
But they use the Buckingham Palace and the changing of the guards and all that kind of thing. They use it to bring tourism in. If they got rid of if they knocked down the Buckingham Palace for some reason, that would be it. You know.
Yes.
Tourism. That's it. You know.
It's sort of London, isn't it? Really, it is the capital. You know. Yeah. And the garden parties, of course.
So a lot of it is down to tourism and bringing in the money and the economy.
Look at you, Claire.
Just a little bit of name dropping, you know.
I will just go as fast as. But do you think when it comes to? Do you think even the mega rich, when we talk about the mega rich, it's always been into 2 categories, isn't it? That even if we go back centuries ago about the rich and the poor, the wealthy and the I can't remember what we call ourselves now, the
commoners.
Yeah, basically commoners, the wealthy. The commoners.
There was the working class, wasn't there?
Working class.
The working class.
That's it.
But I think even now within the higher class, there's a split between 2 categories now in the higher class, and I think you can tell the difference between them both. Now, what I mean by a split in the higher class is, given everything, worked for everything,
Yes.
worked to get where they are now. And I think there's a huge difference within that.
Given everything is when they talk like that, because they're elocution lessons, darling, and we will have afternoon tea. But then those that work for it, you know, love, I'm going down pub. Are you coming? We're going to get some pie and chips on way home. Do you know what I mean? I think that's
Yes.
more my way of looking at it. You know what I mean?
But you'll always have rich and middle class and poor, because you could give everybody a certain figure of money. Us four here, we could have a certain money given us to tomorrow, and by the end of the week we would probably, one of us, I mean, I'm generalizing here now, we probably wouldn't be anybody who wouldn't have nothing left, but we would all have a different amount at the end of the week.
Sandra, I have got to mention
differently, and if you'll always have people, you'd have some people who would gamble it to try and probably lose it.
But also, you can. Now, I don't know your. I'm going to share a story with you live on the show here, Sandra, because I haven't had a chance to tell you yet. Oh. But can I just say I don't know Sandra's financial situation at all. Not a clue about what Sandra's financial situation is. But you came to, as you know, the garden party that we had for Loose Links, and Rachel Penny commented on you when you left. Sorry, Rachel, I'm putting you on the spot a little bit. She said, I couldn't tell if Sandra was rich or poor because she dresses to make it. She absolutely comes, stands out in the crowd, has the best clothes on, all of that, but she could be in the poorest, but she just doesn't look it. Do you think that's true, that you can make yourself look wealthy even if you're not wealthy?
Absolutely. You know what Elizabeth Arden always said?
Now who's she?
Beautician. She said, there are no ugly women, lots of lazy ones.
Oh,
now. No ugly women, lots of lazy ones. And it takes seconds to put lipstick on, and everybody looks different without lipstick or with it. Lipstick can make a total difference to your face. I don't go anywhere without lipstick. You'll always find me with lipstick, even at home. I've told
what
my
about
girls,
you, Claire? Have you got lipstick on tonight?
Well, I did have, but my cup of tea, it's all around my mouth.
I've got lipsticks all over the place. There's one by the front door. I haven't got a back door. There's one in the car, one in every handbag. There's one in every coat pocket.
But just to say that she looks wealthy.
Oh, bless her. That was kind of.
She does. But I've got a story to share with you all that I'll never forget. I ran. The reason I know Sandra is I ran a choir in Boston when I lived in Boston for 2 years. And I remember, I'm going to really embarrass her here. I remember going to a choir practice. So we were 5 minutes from going through the choir practice. Right, Nick, let's go. Get your coat on, get your shoes on. Very ordered, very organised. Yeah, we'll do this. She says, can't find the car key. So no word of a lie. We looked for this car key for about 45 minutes, to the point where Sandra went, hold on, it's in my hand.
Oh, in hand all the time.
All the time it was in her hand. I loved it. Right? It was one of my favourite stories from Boston. Sam, do you think it's important for the mega rich? So we're talking about the mega rich, like David Beckham and people like that. Do you think it's important for the mega rich to share their story for inspiration?
I just think it depends on where the story comes from. I mean, if it's someone that's being like fed their inheritance kind of thing, or they were born with a silver spoon in their mouth kind of thing, you know, people aren't interested in that, because like, oh, you know, what hardships have you had? Oh, you broke a nail. Oh, you know, I broke 5 last week. Get over it kind of thing. I just think it just depends on where they've come from with it, and you know, how, if they built it up themselves. And I think, you know, that could be served as inspiration for other people But it's like you get all these socialites. I mean, I think the one that springs to mind is Paris Hilton. Obviously, everybody knows where she's from, and she tries to do all this stuff to make herself popular, and she makes it worse because, you know, you can so tell that she's not worked for anything. And then he gets, you know, people like Bill Gates, who's, you know, he's worked his way up. He worked to get Microsoft going with his partner, and he still kind of like knows, you know, that what he does, it affects people, and he's still, you know, people look at his story and think, you know what, if he can do it, I can do it.
But Claire,
So,
can we really? Can we blame these people that have been given it? I'm not just talking about you here, Sam, at all. I'm not putting you on the spot, but we're very judgmental at, well, they've been given it, and what if they don't know any other way? What if that's what they've been taught? Do you know what I mean?
But that is it, isn't it? I mean, you've got like the royal family, you know, and then you've got Harry, who is doing something that a royal has never done before.
I stand by Harry.
Don't go there, Nicholas. We have had this conversation before. Sandra's on my side, aren't you, Sandra? Anyway, yes. So, like, you know, if you're a royal, you are given it, and like Harry's now choosing not to do what was expected of him. Now, that being right or wrong, personally, I think it's wrong because I am a royalist. But anyway, that's another subject. But you can't really blame them, can you? If they've been inherited, you know, they've been born with a silver spoon in their mouth. That is not their fault, but it's what they do then with what they've got, you know.
And a lot of them act very spoiled, don't they?
Yes, yeah. I think.
Right. I'm not going down the Harry and Meghan story here. Let's take Meghan out of the equation. We're not talking about Meghan, so we're talking about Harry, right? Harry has been given everything on a plate since a child. Harry is a real inspiration to me because, taking Meghan out of the situation, Harry was always the one that was always in trouble, that always did something a little bit wrong, that was always in press, that was always... And I just wonder if that was him going. He went to the army, didn't he? He worked for the army, he did some work for them. I wonder if that was him going, actually, I want to work for something in my life, not be given it, not just be given it.
Yes, the sad, I agree with you there. And the sad thing about that was when Charles pulled him out, because I think if Charles hadn't pulled him out of the army, he would have gone into better things and done. Harry's, his problem is that I'm happy for him to go off and do what he wants, fine, if he wants to come out of the royal family, but come out of the royal family, live your life, full stop. Don't criticize your family because of it.
I mean, I know that like years before, you know, even before he met Meghan, like years and years ago, I know that he was talking about wanting to come out of the royal family because he didn't feel it was right for his own mental health, because he was still suffering from losing his mum. And he found it hard to talk to people, apparently. And he actually was wanting to leave the family, but it was actually his brother that convinced him to stay. So, you know, I mean, I kind of feel sorry for him because both of them were thrust into the limelight because of what happened to their mum. So, and each one has dealt with it differently, whereas Harry's kind of gone, you know, he's kind of like rebelled almost. You know, he's rebelled against the paparazzi. He hates the paparazzi because of what they did. And whereas obviously William, he's gone the other way and he's kind of like carrying on basically. And I think a lot of it for him is, you know, the loss of his mother is kind of like caused him to kind of like rebel a bit, and he just doesn't want any of this life because of what's happened. And I that's my belief. I mean, I'm with Nicholas. You know, we're all calling you Nicholas now. We're all calling you Nicholas now.
I feel like I'm in trouble all night.
But you know, I do feel that he did right by his own mental state, his own what he wanted.
Let's go on Harry a little bit then, Claire. Let's come over to you a little bit because we need to come to the end of this subject. But let's just finish off as when we look at a person, when we look at a child and development, there's, as you know, there's many stages of development. There's physical, there's emotional, there's social, all those developments. Do you think a development of inspiration should be there?
Definitely, yeah. You know, that as a child's growing up, and again, it's like if you're going from a family that's been handed down, you know, through the inheritance that they've got, a child only knows what they know. So, you know, I think they need some inspiration, because not every story is the same. And, you know, their parents might have made the money from generations. But yeah, I think they need inspiration, because I think that then makes them not feel so that they was handed it, you know, that their parents have done this. So, you know, just because I've got money doesn't mean that I'm just going to spend it all. I feel that I want the inspiration to do that for my family, you know, and make my money rather than just use the money that my parents has got.
Definitely. See what you think. Tell us if you think inspiration should be in personal development. Do you think there still is a divide between wealthy and not wealthy? Did you see that? I didn't say poor. And do you think the mega rich should really be inspiring us all, but in the right way? Do you think they've got a higher pressure than any of us minions down here? Have you all say make sure you're the fifth panelist, or fake it till you make it like Sandra Overton does. Just make sure you've got a lipstick next to your front door and you're sorted. Make sure you have your say joining our conversations. Our last topic's a really interesting one for me, really. I was deadly excited to talk about this. So the Secret Gardens have burst into the life indoors of Doddington Hall for this year's Christmas Wonderland, with the doors now open to the festive season. Claire, we're talking about a subject that you love. Get ready. That Christmas bell is ringing. The hall is now packing with dazzling scenes and magical of the natural world in the winter inside. Sam, do you think it's good sometimes to embrace our inner child?
I always embrace my inner child. I live with my inner child, and I just do adulting every so often when it's needed. But I do think, you know, all seriousness, you know, it's all work, no play just makes you just really miserable. So I feel like, you know, you do need to embrace that inner child to bring a bit of fun to your life, to, you know, keep you, it's good for morale, it's good to keep you going. And, you know, and I just like to just, you know, just have my, you know, just live with my inner child for the, you know, for most of my life, because I just don't see the point in being such a serious adult all the time. So I think it's good to let the inner child out every so often, because it just makes you look like a dull person, if you get what I mean. But
I've got
there's definitely a time and a place for the serious side and the inner child. I do know that.
I've got a bit of a sad story really to say about inner child, because I don't think I learned about my inner child until I was last poorly. An inner child was poorly, mental health poorly. An inner child was spoken to me about, and talking about comforting that inner child, because I would say to specialists, I cry, I don't want to cry, I get upset, I feel scared, I feel this. And they talked about the inner child. Now, we all have moments in our lives where we get upset, where we're scared, where we're nervous, where we're frightened, all of that wrapped up into one. And let me just talk to you about that is your inner child and how you deal with that inner child. So if you feel like you want to cry, but you have to sort of find that balance. You sort of have to find that child, okay, child, I'm letting you do this, to adult, I'm now going to control it. I'm now going to sort it out. And I think it's really important that we speak and we are really aware about our inner child. Sandra, do you agree?
Well, you've got a bit deep there for me. I was thinking inner child, because I mean, you know, I'm one that get on with it. I was thinking inner child, yes, I still believe in Father Christmas, you know.
But you must have in your adult life though had those moments where you got upset, where you felt very childlike, where you felt vulnerable, where you felt upset, where something has happened, if somebody's hurt you. You must have had those moments in your life where you felt very vulnerable.
Oh yes, I have. I mean, you know, one of my personal situations very, very much. But I was very much get up and go and get on with your life. And the best thing you can do, to me, the best thing to do is to show people, in my case, I could live my life without. I could get on with it, because that has, at the end of the day, had more effect than if I'd sat here crying my eyes out.
Yeah.
No, I'm very much, I'm afraid I'm a get up and go and get on with life and get on with it. And
I love to give you a challenge.
There are two sides. You often show, you have a different face when you go out the front door sometimes. Yeah. No, life is very much what you make it.
Yeah. What about you, Claire? Do you embrace inner child?
I just think, you know, the past 12 years has been really difficult, you know, being a single parent to two. You know, I mean, the dad's been fine, you know, and now, you know, because we've worked at what have you, mainly because of Harry's disability and then the Lincs. Well, you know, I find that for me, I can be very, very low because I want somebody for me. You know, I'm always there for the children, but there's nobody there for me. You know, my family doesn't live that far away, but it's like 20 miles. So therefore, when it came to like childcare and that, I never had that, you know, and father situations. I've had a couple of four, which have all been lovely, but, you know, they've all sort of drifted. And I just feel that, you know, as an adult, many a time I do feel like a child because I just want the love, you know, not being really soppy and sad.
But can you see how that can be classed? And not many people know about it. This is the shocking thing about it. That it's almost like you have to say to yourself in those moments. So when you're crying and when you're upset about something, what if a child was crying and if a child was upset in front of me, what would I do? I would maybe hug them, I maybe put a blanket over me, I maybe put the telly on, I'll make myself something nice, I'll put a silly song on, and it's all about embracing that person. So there's a person that's always that little person of us. And sometimes they can have a tantrum as well. And you've got to deal with that tantrum. So you're having the tantrum. Am I making sense to this? Or is this all a bit wieldy?
Yeah, I kind of get where you're coming from, because obviously when you're a child, there's different version, you know, child has different personalities. They have the playful side, which is what I was on about, and then you got like the tantrum side, the upset side, and the vulnerable side. I think it's again, I think a lot of it is down to life experiences as well. I think a lot of it is down to life experiences, depending on how your inner child reacts to different things. It's like when my daughter was young, she lost her dad to cancer. So, you know, I had that where I had to sit with my daughter when she was 6 years old. I had to sit with her on my lap, comfort her, make her hot chocolate with all the trimmings, and we sat and watched movies for the rest of the night after I told her on Boxing Day. You know, I had to do that with her. So, you know, it just depends on your life experiences as to what, as to how your inner child reacts to certain situations. I feel.
And I think you made a point of we all deal with things differently. Yes, definitely. Everybody deals with different things. And
Panel, can you remember? Can you remember first when you first felt like an adult? Can you remember that first time of feeling, my word, I'm an adult? Sandra, let's go to you first. When
mine was after I was married, because at home I had a very strict father and mother. My father only had to look at me. He only ever hit me once. I threw a Rupert book at him, and I mean, he would have been had up now. I could not, I'm not joking, I could not sit down. I had wheels on my bottom. He got a leather strap, but I never threw a book at him ever again. But I had to be in. I'd gone with my husband, I married. I'd gone with him for 6 years when we were married, and I still had to be in. The night before I got married, I still had to be in at 10 o'clock. I was not allowed out anywhere after 10 o'clock at night. And when I was married and we went on honeymoon, and when we came back, I had my own key, and I went out and came home, and I thought, I am now a grown up. I've got my own home. And that was when I really felt, yes, an adult.
What about you, Claire? Do you remember your first time of feeling, wow, I'm an adult?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm feeling.
I'm still a child. Still like being silly. I don't know. I can't really think. You know, I don't.
What about becoming a mother? Did that change you? Did you think, wow, this is Claire adult now?
Well, you come home with this bundle. You know, you've had you know, people visiting you in hospital, and everybody, you know, because I was at work, then I went on maternity leave, and then all of a sudden it's just you, your partner, and this baby, and you don't realise that this little bundle of joy is going to give you so much grief, you know, because, you know, it cries because it wants this, it wants that. And, you know, and as a first-time mum, it's really, really difficult. And, yeah, you've got to think, oh, gosh, yeah, I'm an adult now. And now I'm not a child anymore, because, I mean, I was an older mother anyway. But now this little bundle has got to rely on me.
Yeah.
And as much as it's wonderful, it's very scary as well, you know. So,
ladies, that brings us to the end of this week's Loose Links. Thank you for joining in the conversation. It was an interesting show. I keep telling you, I don't know why I have these at all, really. I should just send you a topic and we should just go for it, because I don't, half those questions wasn't written down tonight. So well done, but join us next week as we have lots more to say. But I can't believe I haven't done this yet, and I realised by watching over the last couple of shows that I haven't done it yet, so I'm going to do it this evening. For personal job reasons, that's all I can say. For personal job reasons, where we've lost a panellist, which was an absolutely incredible panelist, and she was amazing, and she still does a lot of work behind the scenes. But I'd like to send a big shout out and a lot of love to say we miss you very, 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 very much. And that's to your friend Claire. And who is that?
Suzanne
Paul. We send a lot of love to you because you did a lot of work with us behind the scenes. We still think about you. We still think about you often. But if you wondered why she's gone off the screens, it's because of her job. No other reason. She's still in the background. She still watches all the shows. So we send a lot of love to you, Suzanne Paul. Thank you very much. And the other person,
A fantastic job.
Fantastic, it's a fantastic job. And the other person that I want to thank this evening as well, who won't be coming back to series 4, but did absolutely incredible work over the last season and the last season before, and that's to Darren Holt. Thank you so much for all your signing of the shows. You were absolutely incredible, and you will be very loosely missed. So thank you very much. But can you thank my panel for this evening? Joining me, Nicholas James, was the lion that roars is Claire Browning-May, the woman that always seems to have some sort of animal in her hand, that's Sanjay Hitwell, and the person that never leaves home without her lipstick, that's Sandra Overton. Join us next week where we have a lot more discussion, a lot more chat. Thanks for letting us keep you company on this Tuesday night. Good night, God bless, and we'll see you soon. Good night.
Bye.